Hi, welcome back. From what we have learned in the previous module, switches can be connected and configured. But if you ask any network administrator, you will find that doesn't matter how good you designed, configured, and implemented your network, problems do exist. To troubleshoot network issues, knowledge regarding the functioning of a switch is required. This module, Switching Concepts, gives you the fundamentals of switches and switch operations. The good thing is it's simple and easy to understand. So let's see how a switch works. The two things that we are going to cover in this module are the different frame forwarding techniques used by a switch and the information regarding switching domains. What do you mean by a collision domain and what do you mean by a broadcast domain? So let's start with the first thing, which is your frame forwarding methods used by a switch. There are two terms that we need to understand in switching terminology. The first thing is the decision on how a switch forwards traffic is made based on the flow of the traffic. Regarding the flow of the traffic, the two terms that we should understand are ingress and egress. So ingress means it is used to describe the port where a frame enters into the device. That means if a switch receives a particular frame from a port, that is the ingress port. Egress means it is used to describe the port that frames will use when leaving the device. That means a frame is forwarding a switch is forwarding a frame to another device. So egress is the port through which this frame leaves the switch. Ingress means it is the port through which a frame enters into the switch. Generally, a switch forwards based on the ingress interface and the destination MAC address. MAC address is your physical address. A switch uses its MAC address table to make these forwarding decisions. It usually populates the table. But please remember that a switch will never allow traffic to be forwarded out on the interface through which it has received this traffic. So in this example here, we have 6 ports here. Now, for instance, if a particular frame is received through one is your ingress port. And if the switch doesn't know which of these ports lead to the destination, it will send this particular frame on all the remaining ports, but not on the port through which this frame has been received. So all of them become the egress ports. Usually this cycle keeps on continuing until the switch populates its MAC table. We'll discuss that. So we call it as the switch MAC table. Now, in order to build this table, a switch uses the destination MAC address to determine the egress interface. In order for the switch to make this decision, it should understand, or it should first know what interface the destination is located. That means through which port it should forward this frame to. A switch builds a MAC address table, also known as content addressable memory, CAM table, because it's a kind of memory which is used for high-speed search operations. CAM table, content addressable memory table, by recording the source MAC address into the table along with the port it was received. Now, when a switch receives frame from a particular PCA on port number 1, it writes this entry into the MAC table saying that port number 1 belongs to PCA. So LAN switches determine how to handle incoming data frames by maintaining the MAC address table. How the entries in this MAC address table are being populated? It populates it, or it creates these entries by simply recording the source MAC address of each device connected to each of its ports. So it doesn't matter if it is a 6 port or 24 port or 48 port switch. So when these ports are connected to devices and when frames are entering into the switch from these devices to these ports, the switch maintains the table by noting down the source destination addresses. Once the MAC address table is built, the switch can easily make a decision about which port to send out the frame for reaching the appropriate destination. The switch references the information in the MAC address table to send frames destined for a specific device out of the port which has been assigned to the device. So this is how it usually does. Now, the switch uses a two-step process. We call it as learn and forward method. The first step is a learn. It means it examines the source addresses. If there is no source address in the table, it simply adds the source MAC if it's not present. if there is an entry for that address already present, it simply sets the timer back to 5 minutes. That means it refreshes every 5 minutes or so. The second step is forward. What it does is it examines the destination addresses. Now, if this destination MAC address is already present in the table, it will simply send that particular frame through that port only, through whatever port to the destination is connected to. It will forward that frame through that port. If the destination MAC is not in the table, it floods out this frame through on all the interfaces except the one it is received. So this is called as learn and forward method of switch. Now, the switch makes the layer 2 forwarding decisions very quickly. The switch works very fast. This is because we have something called as ASICs, application specific integrated circuits. These actually reduce the frame handling time within the device and allow the switch to manage an increased number of frames without degrading the performance. That is the reason switches can handle frames very fast at a very quick rate. Now, there are usually two methods to make the forwarding decisions after it received a frame. The earlier ones we decided are how does a switch decide which is the port to forward it to, and after that these are the forwarding methods. The first one is store and forward switching. Here, this is the Cisco's preferred switching method, where the switch waits for the entire frame to be received in its entirety. It checks for errors and then only forwards it. The alternative is something called as cut-through switching. Cut-through switching means it is a delay-sensitive type of switching mechanism where the switch does not wait for the entire frame to be received. It can simply look at the destination MAC address and then decides the egress port and forwards it. It doesn't wait for the entire frame to be received. It does not do any error checking out there. So let's discuss these two in detail. The first thing is store and forward switching. It has two primary characteristics. The first one, as I said, error checking. This is because, as I said, if the store and forward switching is being used, a switch cannot forward the frame simply by looking at bits and pieces of it. It has to wait until the entire frame is received. And if you remember correctly regarding the Ethernet frame, the last part of the frame or the trailer part is the FCS, frame check sequence, which has the CRC, which will allow to check for any errors in the received frame. So once the switch receives the entire frame, it will compute its own FRC and will verify the FCS within the frame and the FCS it computed. If both are equal, it will deduce that there are no errors in the switch. But if there is a mismatch in the FCS, it means that there is some problem with the switch, maybe because of a transmission error or a collision or whatever it is. It will simply, the frame will be dropped. So error checking is done. In cut-through switching or in store and forward switching, frames with errors are not transmitted. It also provides this additional feature of automatic buffering. Because the ingress interface through which the frame is received, you are actually putting it there until the entire frame is received and then going to check on whether there are any errors or not. You are actually providing an automatic buffering also. This allows the switch to adjust to a potential difference in speeds. We spoke about the switch port settings or switch ports configuration with the duplex settings and the speed settings in your earlier module. So this particular store and forward switching does allow a switch to react to any potential difference in speeds between the ingress port and an egress port. If there is a 100, if your ingress port is 100 Mbps and if your egress port is 1000 Mbps, this particular switching mechanism will help the switch to smoothen out the differences. Let's talk about cut-through switching. So cut-through switching doesn't care much. It simply waits for the destination address to be received, and as soon as it looks at the destination MAC address, it decides what the egress port is and it will simply forward it. It does not wait for the frame to be received completely. It does not check for any errors within the frame. So obviously, frames with errors will be propagated in this cut-through switching. There is a variant which is slightly better in terms of forwarding error frames, called as fragment-free switching, which will also send the frame. It will also wait, does not wait for the entire frame to be received, but it will wait until it gets the type field. It waits for the frame until at least the type field is received. and we will check whether the frame is at least 64 bytes or not. So by doing this fragment free method, runts will not be there. Runts means, as I told you, any frame which is less than the minimum 64 byte required is called as a runt. When you use fragment free switching method, no runts will be sent or will be propagated. Now the concepts, the characteristics of cut through switching are, so if it doesn't do anything, why bother we study this? Because the delay sensitive applications, high performance applications where delay cannot be tolerated and where the latency must be less than 10 microseconds, cut through switching is used. Because it does not check any FCS or it doesn't use any error checking mechanisms, it will definitely propagate errors. If it is propagating too many number of errors, it will lead to bandwidth issues. It might lead to congestion also. And when you compare with the store and forward switching, this particular cut through switching will also not support ports with differing speeds. As I told you, store and forward switching might smoothen out the difference between the mismatched egress and ingress ports. It doesn't happen in cut through switching. But one thing regarding cut through switching is it is useful for applications which are very much delay sensitive. This is regarding your cut through switching. So let's talk about switching domains. As I told you, let us compare about what do you mean by collision domain and what do you mean by a broadcast domain. So first, let us talk about collision domains. Earlier days, in when hubs are being used, when hub-based Ethernet segments, network devices competed for the same shared medium. So the network segment that share the same bandwidth between devices are called as collision domains. So if the same segment of network of this or the same bandwidth is being shared among multiple devices, that particular is called as a collision domain. Now, when in such a case, if there are two or more devices that try to communicate at the same time, collision happens. If collisions happen, the frames have to be retransmitted. They will be dropped and they have to be retransmitted. If an Ethernet port is operating in half duplex, if you are in the half duplex mode, each segment is in its own collision domain itself. But contrary, if you are using full duplex, there are no collision domains present. By default, Ethernet switch ports will auto negotiate full duplex when the adjacent device can also operate in full duplex mode. So if both the devices can operate in full duplex mode, the Ethernet switch ports can do that through your auto negotiate feature. If one switch port is connected to a device operating in half duplex, maybe a hub, the switch port will automatically operate in half duplex only. Now, in such cases, the switch port will be part of a collision domain. Now, what about broadcast domains? Broadcast domains means, if you want to understand in a simpler way, all layer 1 or layer 2 devices which are interconnected with one another create one broadcast domain. Simple stuff. So a broadcast domain consists of all devices on the LAN that receive the broadcast traffic. So layer 1 and layer 2 devices will not divide a LAN. They all form one broadcast domain. Only a layer 3 device, just like your router, only a layer 3 device router will break the broadcast domain. It can split these domains into two. Your switches will not be able to do that. If you have in the second diagram, if you see, all of this is a broadcast domain because this switch can transport, and if this switch sends one particular frame, it will be transmitted on this link also, and the same broadcast will be forward. Usually, if you ask me why do you need broadcasting, broadcasting is actually required in some cases to find out where the devices are, where are they located, and in some cases regarding address resolution protocols. But the problem is, if there are too many broadcasts being sent out on the network, it will actually consume a lot of bandwidth and decrease the efficiency of your network. So when the layer 2 switch receives the broadcast, what it does is it will simply flood it out on all the interfaces except for the ingress interface. So what happens now in this, take out this second diagram. If switch 1 sends out a broadcast message, if this broadcast message is received by everybody in this segment as well as everybody in this segment also. So too many broadcasts will cause congestion and will result in poor network performance. If you keep on adding more and more layer 1 and layer 2 devices, these broadcast domains will also tend to expand. The only way to divide the broadcast domains is through usage of a layer 3 device, which is a router. This is regarding your broadcast domains. Now, In order to alleviate network congestion, there are some certain features that we can employ. So features of the switch that alleviate congestion are follows. First one is fast port speeds. So depending on the model, the switches can go up to 1000 Gbps port speeds. Fast switching, fast internal switching itself. This uses fast internal bus or shared memory to improve the performance of a switch. Have large frame buffers. So this allows for temporary storage while processing large quantities of frames. So have more space, buffer space, increase the buffer space, or use a high port density switch. That means rather than using, if you want 48 port, rather than going for two 24 port switches, why don't you purchase one 48-bit switch? This will actually reduce the cost, and also it will provide for more local traffic with less congestion. So these things can be implemented to alleviate network congestion. This is a very simple module, and we have come to the end of this module. So let me just give you a quick recap of what we studied in this. We studied about frame forwarding. Ingress is the entry point or entry port. Egress means the exit port. The switch builds a MAC address table to forward frames on the LAN. It can either use the store and forward method or cut through switching method for forwarding the frames. Now, Ethernet ports in half duplex will be part of a collision domain. In full duplex, there are no collision domains whatsoever. Now, when a switch will flood out on all the interfaces except the ingress port if it is broadcasting. Now, these broadcast domains includes each and every interconnected layer 1 and layer 2 devices. The broadcast domains may only be broken by a layer 3 device like a router. Switches extend the broadcast domain but can eliminate collision domains and relieve congestion. So this is the end of module 2. So good luck. This is pretty simple. This is how you understand the basic functioning of a switch. So thank you very much. Have a good day. And I will create the videos for the packet tracer activities. Thank you very much. Good luck.